Chciałam bardzo podziękować, że dzisiaj tutaj mogę być ze wszystkimi. Zaprezentuję coś, co nie jest prezentacją korporacyjną, jest prezentacją człowieka, który po prostu kocha to, co lubi i chce się podzielić tym, co wie, tym, co poznał, co nie jest jakąś tylko teorią przepisaną, tylko może przeżytą. Ze względu na to, że pracuję na co dzień już od wielu lat tylko po angielsku, jest ona przygotowana po angielsku, więc jeśli nie będzie Wam to przeszkadzało, to będzie mi chyba łatwiej to wytłumaczyć w tym właśnie języku. Okay, so let's start. How to design on intersection of design thinking and user experience. First of all, there is this first question, maybe a bit philosophical question. What is actually design thinking? Is it a buzzword? Is it a new marketing word? Is it something that we use it? Is it something useful? Is it a discipline, methodology? What is it actually? Well, there is no single answer, and I'm sure during this few days of workshops here, you will have plenty of answers. But the most important is to find your own answer for it and your own implementation to your daily work. For me, above all, it's a user-centric approach to problem solving. It can be any problem. It can be that simple problem like of every day maybe our glasses will break, until a huge, complicated problems of companies. This user-centered approach to problem solving can lead to innovation, and that's, I think, the biggest added value of design thinking. This process is supported by different kinds of processes. Whenever you type design thinking, you have thousands of colorful process lines, from IDEO to Roger Martin, or even to Leonardo da Vinci explanations of how was design thinking 500 years ago. When we look on definitions of user experience, we have different definitions, very complete ones, definitions that speak about understanding emotion, beliefs, behavior of the user before the product, during the product, and after the product. Okay, but it's all about just the usage of a product. So how this user experience can be connected with design thinking? From theoretical level, these disciplines, they have a lot in common, because user experience and design thinking, they find what people need. But there are some key differences. And for me, these key differences are represented by intention of what we want to do with this experience and the solution, what the experience will provide. So design thinking focuses more on discovering of what we don't know yet about this experience, whereas UX focus more on discovering what we know already about product and just we try to improve it a bit more. So looking on this little icon here, we can understand that with more design thinking approach, we are going into deeper discovery, deeper empathy. And while we are UX designers, we understand that the defined part is usually very well defined. We usually get the design brief, and we need to know what we have to develop. So what if we can combine these two very front phases of the process and create this hybrid space of combining design thinking and user experience? Okay, till now it was just the nice theory that we all can find, we can all somehow digest in the way we want. So today I want to share a little bit of, well, a small journey which I discovered working with design thinking in a small app company where we had 20 developers, and also from approach of bigger company and how the difference of big and small companies is represented in more practical cases. So here I want to share one, I think, of my favorite projects. It was a project where we were contacted by a pharmaceutical company which had a problem of patient adherence to one of the medication sprays. And they were saying, oh, multiple sclerosis, we have to make something with digitalization of the product. We need to make an app that will actually help to patients to track how they take medications in order that we know why they don't take the medication. So they challenged us to find these areas of improvement, etc., etc. Okay, we set up a plan. We wanted to find the real problem and understand which areas we really need to explore in order to understand who is our user. Are we only tracking a patient, or are there other stakeholders in the value chain? And suddenly you discover that there are caregivers, nurses, neurologists. They all are important in this investigation plan. And it's not about a market research of pharmaceutical companies which have only numbers represented by completely not valuable insights. It's about actually going to understand in depth all the context of how the patients and all the stakeholders, how they live. So the most important thing from the design thinking discovery part, it's how we actually interview people and how we observe the people. And here we see the image of one of the patients. When you make an interview with him, when you spend 6 hours at their houses, you have to understand every single touch point, even the way they interact with the bottle, the way they touch it, and the way the patients use not only the digital objects as we were asked at the very beginning of the project. We have to even sometimes open their fridge to understand how they store the bottle, because maybe the problem comes from there. Maybe the problem doesn't come from a mobile app as we were asked at the beginning. Of course, a software company should only make apps. Is this how they think? But it's not how design thinkers should think. You should provoke questions and observations that sometimes go out of your first problem scope, because during the journey of discovery you can find things that you haven't expected. Okay, so once you have the first insights, collected from patients and nurses and doctors, you start creating patterns, the user experience patterns, to understand where the problems really come from and to understand on one board, not on 100 pages presentations, where is the problem, because nobody will understand 100 pages presentation. They will understand this board that actually there is something to do with a bottle. Not because the multiple sclerosis patients don't remember what they take. First of all, they cannot take the medication because their hands, they don't allow them to press the spray. So we needed to redefine what is our challenge. So the challenge is not only thinking about digitalization and helping to track the problem was how to improve a bottle dexterity in order to bring a user-friendly solution, because that was the first touch point of all the process that was affecting dropping the medication, because if you don't spray it well, you don't take the right dosage. So building on that, we started to co-create with patients using very simple products that we buy at the Chinese store, plastic, paper mock-ups, colorful notes. And when you put on one table doctors, patients, and nurses, and often caregivers, you start getting insights that you never before actually could imagine. Because this kind of insights you get from such a 2-hour session, it's something that I call a gold insight. And then you empower these people to design a very basic prototypes, like the one on the left-hand side, where the patient tells you, actually, I want as simple bottle as I can. The bottle that you give me as a pharmaceutical company cannot be the same bottle as you use it for 500 other kinds of diseases. my hands, they don't permit me to even make it this. So make me something, make me kind of surface that makes it bigger and show me exactly how many path intakes I have to take. So maybe it's very funny, this kind of prototype, but from the inside point of view, it gives us amazing knowledge about the user. And then we start playing with the ergonomy, how they use it, how they take it, and then the work of designer is to somehow interpret this very rough prototype to start maybe constructing a prototype that has to be 100 times consulted with compliance of pharma industry, because of course there is another obstacle. How can we make it feasible? One thing is what the patient shows, but the other thing is what marketing wants, and the other thing is what actually we can do it according to the protocols, very difficult protocols of pharmaceutical company. So we came up with much more developed prototype that we printed in 3D, and we made this very rough prototype of how the application should look like. So actually from very complex idea of pharmaceutical company that we should make a gamification app that helps track journey and this, and 500 questions to the patients, we realized that the app has to be that simple as when do you start to take medication and when your medication is finishing, and just reminding you very simply about this spray when you forget it. But the point was that from designing an app, actually we design a physical object, connected object to the mobile app. Okay, it was a great project. It was a great innovation project. We completed all the phases, all the famous phases of design thinking, from empathy, understanding insight, to prototyping. We validated the prototype, but of course, an outsourced company, a small innovation software company, somehow fails it at the very end. When it came to make, we closed the project, we had extremely nice feedback, but then we wanted to put it on the market. We wanted that this project grows. And where most of the innovation projects at this phase fail, it's when this big company takes it, inherit, because it's paid by them, it's their project, the pilot and business model somehow fails because you see you cannot scale it at the level you would like to, because you are just a small 20 people company that has a lot of passion to deliver a great project, but it will never be commercialized in a way that it will be yours. So then this journey made me feel and made me think, actually I would like to see how does it work at the big companies, how does it work to be at the very, very, very big company, and how this design thinking process works. So I've been contacted by HP and they say, well, if you can make it this with patients, maybe we can make it this with customers. So, okay, so going to from the small company to the big company, I think we shouldn't give up. We should bring the thinking of a small company to bring company, but not to invade them. We should somehow understand their culture and make it parallel to their culture, because a company that has already heritage of 50 years of developing software, hardware, and projects, we cannot say, hey guys, this is design thinking, we just gonna invade you like some rebels and so on. No, look at the same point as they look, go and draw the same line parallel to their line and make just the best you can. Okay, so the little experience with 3D printing. We are a very young department because, as you know, the 3D printing for HP is something new. It's only for the last 3 years that we actually started to build the first archetypes of 3D printers. And the process is the same. it's exactly the same. We go from very abstract exploration inside. We don't know that much about 3D printing. Actually, there is no company worldwide that actually know a lot about 3D printing because we all learn. So actually, the design thinking discovery, yes, it's very design thinking. And then you need to somehow land on some kind of airport of concept in order to create the customer journey map. But above all, the design thinking for us is to putting in the center a customer, existing one, or the future one, and not only listen to him, to put him as the person of decision making. This is the person that co-design with us, especially when you are at the very beginning of creating an archetype of a future software or a future printer that will be just designed for this person. You have to understand every single step of this person. And one of the most powerful design tool that we use it's creation of personas. So after collecting in-depth interviews of who is this persona, and there you have a very big range of different kinds of stakeholders, from business owners to mechanical engineers. So we go very in-depth of studying their needs and translating their needs into design needs. And the very important thing is the workflows, understanding entire journey of what the person does with every single tool. And of course, we have then many other tools that help us to understand and prioritize these needs. So depending on the program, we use shadowing sessions, we use co-creation, co-design. You must all know that HP is very strong with usability tests. So all these tools, depending on different challenges, help us to somehow internalize the customer needs. But of course, customer experience design, it's somehow invisible for such a engineered-driven company, because always in the center there will be R&D with the most important decision makers who are engineers, marketing, and business owners of the units. And somehow we are never the owner of the product. We are just somehow a cloud that covers their needs and feed them with actually what I call a real making experience. And our tangible delivery for them is to support them with delivering the very specified scenarios, use cases, and specifications of every single workflow, of every single step that the user will make, and envisioning the product they ask us to design. And in order, why we do this, all these tools, I think my favorite thing is to just make journeys. Somebody said before at one of the presentations that we design emotions. And yes, actually there is a tool that everyone probably knows. It's a customer user journey maps that are the most, I think, important and powerful tools that we can use it not only to validate current scenarios or current products we have. For example, for the old 2D stuff that we already developed a long time ago, they can serve as a validation or understanding the user journey. But for us, who design something that doesn't exist yet and something that will come in 5 years, help us to put in order entire journey of the user, from the moment that discovers this printer at the trade show until it will arrive and it will be using at his office. So here you have this emotional journey, like the hearts. We call it this MPI. So actually this, depending on your challenge, your product, you can actually draw this line of how the user will react. Will he be very happy at the beginning when he received the product? How he will react after? Are there some obstacles? There is no perfect product. There is all products have some issues. Technological issues, ergonomy issues, they all have this kind of bumpy journey. And I must say, to have a very straight journey of a product it's not too fascinating. Sometimes we have to make something to user that disappoints him in order that he has this jump, this high jump later, in order that he says, wow, they solved the problem. And a part of this journey is very important to specify every single touch point of a product. As I said before, we not only design this one thing. This little pilot, remove control, will interact with plenty of other things. It will probably interact with a mobile app. It will probably interact with your hand. Maybe there is a headphone. Maybe there is a speaker. So we have to really map all the touch points because it's a holistic experience. And then understand all the risk and things that every touch point has in order to define the action items. So what is my conclusion for today? Find the right insight at every step of user journey and don't understand a product as a single step. Understand this product as something that has a start, has the end, and don't try to solve all the problems of the journey. Find a very little minimum viable products of every step of the journey that solves some problem and just try to solve one. We are not able to solve all the journey. We are just able to solve a little part of the journey. Make it good, make it right for the user, and then try to put this in the holistic, bigger experience. And above all, start prototyping as soon as you can. You can be whoever you want to be. You can be a patient, you can be a truck driver, you can be whoever. You just have to, in your way, try to communicate some prototype. A prototype can be just a piece of paper, can be just a pencil. But I believe that one prototype, even rough prototype, can solve 1,000 unuseful PowerPoint slides. So instead of design thinking, start design experience making. Thank you.